Did King 5 just release the most embarrassing TV news report ever? Yeah, it did. Welcome to the Jason Rantz Show, presented by None Better Tax Resolution. King 5 is the worst. Yeah, they've got some nice and talented people, but they're so bad, they're the worst. And a recent report from Brady Wakayama might just be their most embarrassing, and that's saying something. King 5 is where the city of Seattle goes to for mostly uncritical coverage of their big-ticket agenda items. King 5 doesn't really produce reports as much as it produces press releases for Democrats. And last week, they focused their press release journalism on a roundtable update on the city's progress with the Downtown Activation Plan, which is meant to make downtown Seattle more welcoming, more safe, and more lively. Well, anyone who's been downtown in, say, the last, 3 years, sees a whole bunch of fentanyl addicts that look like zombies. They're not especially welcoming, they're not safe to be around, and they're definitely not lively. And yet, this is how the feature frames the issue. A quote from Deputy Mayor Tim Burgess.
But the first year of the Downtown Activation Plan is a roaring success.
You could sort of see it in Burgess's face. Even he could barely keep a straight face. But he's holding in that laugh because either one, he thinks we're dumb enough to believe his plan is a rip-roaring success, or two, because he knows King 5 has no editorial standards and will broadcast any absurd claim that they make. Sadly, this isn't even the worst part of this piece. It's not even the most embarrassing. The 2-minute press release does what all local TV packages do. They include useless and random man-on-the-street video. Watch the clip that King 5's Brady Wakayama chose to include.
You don't see tents anymore. So I think Seattle has pretty much cleaned up.
You don't see tents anymore. I think Seattle is pretty much cleaned up. Now, I'm not going to make fun of that guy. He's just some random dude and obviously has no clue what he's talking about. But Brady Wakayama and the editors at King 5 chose to keep that clip in the press release feature, knowing that it's verifiably false. It's laughable. Now, I can excuse some random guy for being clueless, but I can't, and you can't, excuse someone who wants to be taken seriously as a journalist. First off, there are still tents everywhere. Second, where there aren't tents, you'll still see a homeless dude sleeping on the sidewalks, passed out from a day of fentanyl use. I guess he's not in a literal tent, so there's that. In what world would any serious journalist include a comment like this? Unless, of course, it was to point out how clueless some people actually are. This isn't journalism. It's an incurious guy struggling to fill 2 minutes in a news package and too lazy to find better sound to include in his piece. So he stops looking after he gets the first 1 or 2 people to include before rushing back to the studio to pretend he's doing serious work. Who is served by this propaganda? The mayor's office? Yeah. Brady Wakayama's access to the mayor's office on future stories? Definitely. Now, I'm not complaining as a conservative. I'm complaining as a journalist and a news consumer. I'm not disagreeing with their analysis. It's not analysis. It's just factually inaccurate. You want to know who isn't served by all of this? Anyone who makes the mistake of watching King 5 and trusting that they have your best interests in mind. I sat down with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution.
Tell me a little bit about the Fresh Start program, because again, based on how it's promoted, it seems really, really simple.
This Fresh Start program and that phrase has been around for many, many, many years now. But it's a great marketing tool to say, hey, fresh start. And in a way, for those that qualify, it is. What it essentially is an offer in compromise. And to get that, there's 2 main criteria a person must qualify for. 1, they must have limited or no equity in assets. So generally, anyone in the Puget Sound region that owns a home and has for several years, they're going to have a lot of equity. They won't qualify. And the other is an income level. And that all depends upon your family size about how much income that could be. But both of those standards need to be met to qualify. Most people do not.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn of None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS Solutions. 425-947-1967. Or Google NUNN, None Better Tax Resolution. Did you like that commentary? Make sure you subscribe to the podcast of The Jason Rantz Show. Get it at KTTH.com or wherever it is you download your podcasts.